Hey everybody, welcome back to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron. First and foremost, I just want to tell everybody who's subscribed and watched the videos lately, thank you very much. I'm just blown away. My subscriber count and my view count is going way beyond where it's ever been before, and I'm very appreciative, so thank you guys very much. Now with that being said, we're back on Project Hotshot. And today we're going to do a little bit more of the, what I consider fun stuff. A little bit of custom fabrication instead of just making stuff that, you know, not supposed to necessarily fit or wasn't meant for this truck fit. We're going to do some stuff that's more fun for me, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So right here I got the fuel filler neck that was already on the tank. And I've mentioned before, this truck used to have a dump truck bed on it, so this just kind of stuck out of the tank like this, and they could get down there with the fuel nozzle to put fuel in it. Well, now with it being the way it is, you can't. So this bed, whatever truck it was on, had dual tanks, and fuel fill necks, I'm assuming, judging by the looks of it and the fact that there's not a spot anywhere else, we're right there and right here. I personally wouldn't put a fuel filler on top of the bed. First of all, if it rains enough that the water builds up on the bed, there's a chance it can get through your fuel cap and into your fuel tank, and that's no bueno. Second off, what if you want to throw an 8-foot sheet of plywood on there? You're gonna just like slam it on there and it's gonna take a chance of busting your fuel cap off, and then you gotta pull it back and pick it up and slide it over, then it's not sitting on there flat, and that don't seem like a good idea either. So I started looking around and I figured, let's just bust a big old hole right here in the side of this bed and put an ugly fuel cap on it. What do you think? Sound like a good plan? No, I didn't think so. And then I started digging around online looking at pictures, and some people just stick them right here in the wheel well. That sounded like a great idea. I'm like, heck yeah, we'll slap it right there till a tire blows and rips it off. No, not doing that either. So with fuel prices getting to be the way they are and things going the way they are, I'm gonna want a locking gas cap. And what better locking gas cap than a whole door that has a latch with a lock on it. So if you haven't already figured it out, fuel filler neck's going right here, which is going to put it in a perfect spot. It'll be a little bit above the fill point on the tank, and that way we'll have a gradual 90 and a little bit of a downward angle for the fuel fill, which will work out perfect. So I'm going to take this original fuel fill neck because we got it. I'm going to drill a hole in the back of this toolbox, and we're going to stick that fuel fill neck right in there, and then make some hoses that work with it. So I'm going to find a drill bit, a hole saw that's the right size to get that where we need it, and then we'll get started on this. Okay, I already went to the back side and took some measurements to see where it was going to be optimal to put this fuel fill neck, where it's above and away from the tank enough to put a filler hose on there. And then I measured on the inside of the box the same measurements I had on that back side of the box, and I figure it's going to work good right about there. So I got my hole saw, and I want to include you guys in this adventure, so I'm going to do my best to get you where you can see and leave me enough room that I can still work. So let's see what we can do here. This hole saw is probably not going to cut through this metal, but we'll see. Wow. I actually got it pretty darn close to my mark. I guess we'll go with that. Alright, there we go. What do they say, like butter? I guess. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fuel fill neck, put it up here backwards, and get it to where all three of my mounting holes are outside the hole. Then I'm just going to take a paint marker here and I'll try to dab it. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Maybe I'll go grab a Sharpie. But either way, I'm gonna hold that up there backwards and I'm gonna mark those. I'm gonna mark the mounting holes where this mounts. There's 3 of them. So I'll hold that in there backwards and I'll mark those holes, and then we'll drill small holes for screws through those, and then we'll be able to go ahead and screw that into place. So let me go get something that'll actually mark it, and we'll grab a smaller drill bit and then we'll come back and do it. Okay, hopefully the tip of this brand new Sharpie is small enough to get in here to mark these, because my bright idea to use a paint marker ended up not being very bright. Alright, those are really close to the edge of the hole, but since they're actually screwing into the backing, as long as the heads of the screws are touching quite a bit of metal out here, we should be okay. We'll see what happens. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to drill them. I can probably go get a little burr bit and just burr those out a little bit, and then as long as I got metal around it where the screw can grab, it'll hold it just fine. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll go grab a burr bit, we'll burr it out just a little where we need it, and that should do it. I grabbed a burr bit real quick, got those burred out. Now take this, stick it through the back side, and somehow I got these screws. I got decently large heads on them, so they'll grab around where I burred and hold it. They're self-tappers and they're slightly bigger than the holes in the fuel neck, so I'm going to go ahead and run them through the fuel neck first to make sure they're going to fit good. And then we'll just put it up there and screw it in. Actually, the holes were just a little dirty. They're the exact same size, so we're in good shape. Sorry guys, I'm trying to stay out of the way so you can see. Don't know if I'm doing that or not because I can't see the camera. Alright, I'm going to have to tighten those up with a screwdriver because can't get the drill to that top one. But then we'll just screw our cap on. Close our locking fuel cap. Boom. So now all I gotta do is tighten up those screws, and then we need to find some hoses that will go from the fuel neck down to the tank, which shouldn't be a problem. I've got a whole tote full of hoses. So let's see what we can find. Alright. So I got this whole tote full of hoses because I never throw anything away because this stuff's expensive, and that's half-inch fuel hose. That'll work for the vent. And this looks about right for the filler neck. So you guys might be looking at me and going, Aaron, it's a radiator hose. You can't use that on a fuel fill neck. But trust me, this self-identifies as a fuel filler hose. So I'm not going to argue with it. I'm just going to put it on. And I'd love to film this for you guys, but there's no way I can get my big self and that camera and this hose in this wheel well. So I'll let you guys observe from afar, and I'm going to get in here and try to find a hose to work. This one's promising, but I know this 90 up here is going to work, but it's not quite long enough, and the way I have to put it on, this bending this way is the wrong way. So I know if I cut it right here, I got one of them hose cutter things over there in my toolbox. It probably cut this a lot better than my pocket knife is. Alright, so I know I can use that piece with a junction in the middle, but I think this is going to get me where I need to go. Exactly the opposite of what I need it to be. What else I got in here? Hey look, this one's already got a junction in it. And this is actually fuel filler hose. Part of it anyways. This is going to work, especially if I can get it to turn. There we go. Get it to turn like that. And I'm going to cut it long just in case. It's easier to take more off than add back to it. This wasn't staged either, guys. I really do keep this whole hose basket, and this was in there Think it's gonna work out good? Nope, it's not gonna work out good. It's gonna work out great. Now I just gotta get my vent hose. It's too small. Alright, the only thing I'm lacking now is a couple of hose clamps, and we can put a done stamp on that. I'll go and grab the smaller camera and bring it over here and take you guys in there and show you what I got going on. I think now that I got the hose that I know is going to work and got it in there, I don't think I'm going to put the hose clamps on right now because I'll just have to take them back off when I lift the bed back off. So I'm just going to leave them in there like they are so I can just pull them back off when we go to take the bed back out. But let me get this put back away. I'll grab the smaller camera and I'll come and show you guys what I did. Okay, once again my lighting guy, old Lefty, is doing a terrible job, but got that coming off of the neck with the 90 gradual slope all the way down into the tank. Vent hose, check, mark that one off the list, it's done. So the next thing we're gonna do is come back here and tackle this. I'm gonna clean that up, cut down the old door and put that in so that I know where the hole is exactly, and then we'll move the hitch. I'm probably gonna have to lay underneath it and do a lot of work, and I know I'm gonna have to lay underneath it to do all the hitch stuff, but that's okay because I'd rather have it closed in, put the hitch exactly where I want it. So we're gonna get this cleaned up, and then we'll mark and cut our door down to the size that we need it to be to go in there flush. And then for now, I'm just gonna tack it in. I'm not gonna full weld it yet, but I'll get it tacked in, and we're gonna do something else cool. It's an idea that I already had, but one of you guys, hey, when I say guys, I'm not referring to just gentlemen. I use guys as a relative term, so men and women are guys when I say guys, so I'm not singling anybody out. But one of you guys gave in the comments last video that there's something I should do back here, and I was already thinking it, and I was gonna do it anyways. I was just gonna wait until I filmed it to tell you guys about it. But so I'll give him credit for the idea, but we're gonna do something cool here in a minute. So let me get started and we'll get this thing knocked out. I went ahead and got the hinge cleaned up off of here and off of the door. And the next thing I'm going to do is measure the width of the opening at the top and bottom. And then I'm going to transfer those measurements over onto the door. And I'll slice the sides of the door down to where they fit in here. And then I'm going to hold it up here and kind of put it up and down and see exactly where I want my hitch to be for that cutout. So I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements, and then we'll transfer them over there and we'll get to cutting. Alright, my measurement for my width is 32 inches almost exactly. So I'm going to cut those down to like 31 7/8, and that'll leave me a gap on both sides. to get it in there square, and then I can have some room to weld it. So I'm gonna get a marker and get this door marked up. Alright, I got this measured out and marked. Looks like I need to take off about a ½ inch on each side. And then I went out and measured my dually to see where the hitch was on that, because it's usually in a pretty good spot for anything I hook up to. And then I measured the truck in here, and it looks like I need to set the hitch right on top of that C channel that is at the bottom of the opening. So I'm going to go ahead and cut both sides off of here, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim straight out here. And then we'll worry about filling this, patching this in after we get everything worked out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and then we'll move on. Okay, I didn't mention this before, but when I took my measurements for how much I needed to take off the sides, I found my center on my piece, and then I knew what my overall length needed to be. And I measured from my center out and cut in half the amount that I needed to take off. That way, when I put this back in, this cutout in the middle is still centered. If it wasn't for already having this cutout in the middle, I could have just taken a cut off of one end and I wouldn't have had to worry about it, because we'd just have a filler piece we were sticking in. But since this was already cut, I needed to take an even amount off of each end so that this opening would be centered. So I'll go ahead and get this other side cut, and then we'll get back to it. Alright, I got the sides cut, and I cut my opening down so my hitch can sit right here. So now I'm going to take this and kind of test fit it. Okay, that's going to fit just fine. Right where I need it to be. Now what I need to do is, this bottom's got a curve to it. So if I just go ahead and measure from the bottom up, I'm not going to get an accurate measurement. So what I really need to do is try to hold this in place, get down underneath there, and make a line where the top is across the back, and make a line across the back so I know where I need to cut it, because if I just measure, it's going to screw it up. So I'm going to hope that sits right there by itself for a second. I'm going to try to get under here and do this without dropping this thing on myself. Alright, hopefully I got a good line there. Oh yeah, perfect. Alright, so I'm going to take this back over, cut that piece off, and then we'll be able to come back and set this up in place and see what it looks like. Alright guys, I got this cut, but before we move on, I want to stress how important it is to wear PPE or safety equipment when you're messing around with this stuff. I didn't for a long time, and I got really lucky and never had anything happen. I got a couple pieces of metal in my eyes or whatever, but nothing major. But when I was just cutting this, I had a brand new cutting wheel that I just bought today, and I was just cutting along, and it may have caught a little bit or something, but it didn't seem like it, and the disc just exploded in two pieces. And this piece came up and hit me in the thumb really hard. Luckily I had gloves on. I pulled my glove off really quick, looked at my finger, it was fine. But if I wouldn't have been wearing gloves and that thing would have came apart like that, spinning like it did, it probably would have blown the end of my finger off. So, sorry to harp on you a little bit, but it's really important. I mean, that's the first time I've ever had a cutting disc come apart on me when I was cutting, and I've been doing this stuff for 20 plus years. But luckily today I did, and just wanted to mention that it's pretty important because things can happen really fast when you're not expecting it, and you don't want to go home minus a finger for sure. Honestly, and I would be even worse. Alright. So, it fits in there. I'll kind of shim it a little here and there so I got the same gap all the way around. It's a little more gap than I kind of wanted to weld, but I can weld it so it ain't a big deal. But so we got that piece ready to go. I got to take and clean up the metal around the outside, and I clean up the metal on this. But I mentioned earlier in the video that we're going to do something a little cool back here. And what we're going to do that's a little cool is I'm going to cut this out, recess the license plate in there, and I'm putting like a good 3 or 4 inch license plate light on it, and it'll be right above the hitch. So when it's dark outside and you're trying to hook up a trailer or whatever, you'll have a nice bright light there to shine down while you're doing the hitch. And it'll look kind of cool with the plate being recessed a little. So I'm gonna get this stuff cleaned up, and then we'll do some measuring on where the hitch is gonna be, and then we'll make ourselves a template here to cut out to do our recessed license plate. So I'll let you guys watch for a little bit while that was kind of loud. I'll let you guys watch for a little bit while I clean this up, and we'll just keep on going. I got that all cleaned up. Now I'm going to take my old hitch here, because I did get a new receiver tube to put on here. I actually bought a whole hitch. I went to the parts store to see if they had a receiver tube, and they had a hitch that had been sitting there for a long time, and they didn't know what it fit and what it went to, so they gave me a really good deal on it. But anyways, I'm going to measure how high this is going to sit up in there, which is about 3 inches. So I can go and measure up. I'll probably go 3.5 to just give myself a little bit of room. And then my overall measurement on this is about 14. So 3 to 14 would be 11 inches. Half of 11 is 5.5. That's not going to work. I'm going to go from about 6 to 12. I think license plates are 6 inches tall. And I'll mark my center again. So, and what I'll do is I'll add a 1/2 inch to the overall diameters, and then I'll go ahead and cut this piece out, and we'll start making our recess for our license plate. Okay, so what I decided to do for our recess here, I got an old license plate I had hanging on the wall over there, and I measured it, and it's pretty dang close to 6 by 12. So I found some 1¼ inch angle iron, and I got these 2 pieces of scrap metal here. So I'm gonna lay out my angle like so, and then I'm gonna weld these pieces on the end. Pretty much like that. And then my license plate sits right in there perfectly, and I can put my light wherever I want to. So I'm going to weld these together, and then I'll find my center on this, and I'll put it in my piece that's going back in there, and I'll trace the outside of it. And then when I cut the inside of that line, this box should fit in there perfect. And then once I get that done, I'll grab another piece of metal and use it as a filler in here. And then when we body work everything and make it all pretty before we paint it, we'll just clean up the welds and stuff, and you'll never be able to tell. So I'm gonna clean this metal up real quick, and then we'll get the welder over here and weld this in. I got my box all made up, welded together, cleaned it up a little bit with a grinder, and then I laid it on here and drew out my frame where it's going to sit. So now I'm going to take this back over there take the cutoff wheel and cut that out, and then we'll be able to clean it up, and we'll put our box in there and tack it in and see how it looks. This is all done, cleaned up, ground. I got my hole cut out in here, got it cleaned up and ground. And my license plate box fits in there perfect. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna weld it in from the back side, and then I'll flip it over and see. I'm just gonna tack it in from the back side, get some good solid tacks on it. Then I'll flip it over and see what it looks like on the front and decide if we can body work it later or if I need to run a bead across it now. So everything's cleaned up, ready to weld. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some weld on this thing. Got some pretty good welds on there. We'll flip it over. I think I'm just going to go ahead and weld this up all the way around the outside, and it'll make it easier to body work it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm having a little trouble with the feeder, the wire feeder on my welder. When it gets warm, it slows down and you got to turn it up way higher than it needs to be. So I'm going to let it cool off for a minute and I'll go ahead and finish welding this in. And then I'll show you guys what I got when I get done. I might not look real excited, but I'm hot and been doing quite a bit of work, but I'm super excited about this project. I like doing fabrication stuff. I like doing, I guess you could call it custom stuff. It's really not, it's just recessing a license plate, but I'm still enjoying the heck out of it. So I got my frame all welded in all the way around. Like I said, my welder's giving me some problems. It ain't the prettiest, but it's definitely strong. And it's amazing how good a welder you can be if you got a grinder. So we'll fix that up. I'm trying to do this all with just scraps and pieces I got laying around so I don't have to go buy anything. And I've got this 16 gauge piece here. My opening in this is 13 inches by 6.5. And my piece here that I got is 12 by 12. So I'm gonna cut the 6.5 out of the 12, and then I'll just add another inch to the end, weld it together, and then when we come back to body work everything, we'll body work that too. And it'll be behind the license plate, so it won't be super noticeable either way. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that cut out and ready to put in, or put it in. I'm just gonna put it in there, and then I'm gonna spot weld it from the back side to the frame, and that'll hold it. It'll never go anywhere, and we'll, like I said, we'll body work it a little bit when it comes that time. Then after I get that piece put in, then we're gonna go ahead and put this piece back in the truck. So we're getting there. Hang in there. See you in a second. Okay. Bad spot to be in right now. Alright, so I got my recess for my license plate all done. Got it tacked in. Like I said, we'll come back and smooth it out and body work it later. But for now, we're ready to put our panel back in. This thing's getting heavier as the day goes on. Hopefully it still fits. Kind of awkward to deal with, but we'll get it. Alright, what I'm going to do is get it pretty close to where I want it, and then I'm going to put a tack in one corner, and then I should be able to move it around a little bit, which will be beneficial. So let me see if I can hold this end, reach over here and turn my welder on. Try to get it the best I can and then back the corner. And then at least it'll have something holding it, and then I can go from there. That's way too far out. Okay, I got these welding magnets. I don't think they're strong enough to hold this because it's pretty heavy, but hopefully it'll help me out a little bit. I definitely had a little bit of a struggle getting that piece back in, but we got it. It's tacked in. I'm just going to leave it tacked for right now because I still have to do the hitch, and just in case I have to take it back out, which I'm pretty sure I won't have to, and I hope I don't. It's a lot easier to cut those tacks than try to cut the whole piece back out. So I got it really close to flush and put back on there. There's not a whole lot of warpage, which I'm thankful for. So I'll go through and tack it 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 and let it cool and tack it like you would on a body panel. Even though it's 1/8 inch thick, or yeah, it's about 1/8 inch thick, maybe a little thicker. It'll still warp on you and give you a lot of problems when you go to smooth it out. But looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. The license plate recess turned out cool. I like that. I got a light to put in there, but I'm not gonna drill any holes or put that in until it's time to do it. So it'll all be body worked and everything, and that license plate will sit right there. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put the light on the side facing in or on the top facing down. I'll probably put it on the top facing down, that way it'll shine down on the hitch more like I want it to. So I got that to put in, but we got our panel done. It's quite a bit of work, but worth every second of it. Now, next thing we're gonna do, there's an old like round 6-pin plug thing here. I'm gonna weld up the 2 holes where the screws were that hold it on. And then I'm going to show you guys how to make a blank to weld in here. And then I'm going to pop this old license plate light out and do the same thing there. And then I believe, trying to think, I think that's it for the bed. I mean, all the mounts are done, finished welded, bolted. Fuel tank filler neck is in. The panel here on the back is done. I still have to make the hitch, and I'm going to put a good portion of the hitch in, but I'm not going to make any uprights that go to the frame until after we get the bed cleaned up, because I'm going to pull the bed back off. I'm going to clean up and paint the front of it, just the front, and then I'm going to clean up and paint the back of the cab, and then I'll set the bed back on the cab, and then we'll body work the rest of the bed, body work the rest of the cab, and then go ahead and paint the rest of it. So once I get the bed set back on permanently, then I can come back here and finish fabrication on the hitch and all that stuff. But for now, I'm gonna get parts of the hitch in that I've already kind of designed in my head, and I'll have it all laid out, and then when it comes time to put the gussets or runners or whatever you want to call them that go from the hitch up to the frame, which is going to be the 3rd set of bed mounts and structural brace for the hitch, then I'll do that after the bed's permanently mounted on the truck, because it's going to come up underneath the frame and it'll make it a lot harder to slide the bed back before you pick it up and just be a lot more work. So I'll finish the hitch up once the bed is back on permanently. Once I get this welded in and get those 2 spots that I just showed you patched up, the bed's ready to come back off. I'm not going to do any wiring on it till it's back on permanently. Actually, I'm probably not even going to wire it till after it's body worked and painted. So all the wires are still there. They're just cut, so I just got to tie into them, which is pretty easy and nice. And yeah, so I'm going to get my stuff together. I'll show you guys how we're going to make the plugs to fill these holes, and we'll see if we got anything else going on today. Okay, so what I'm going to do to patch this old hole here that we don't need anymore is find a hole saw that fits inside there pretty tight, or is like about the same diameter of the hole, because you know when you take a hole saw and cut a hole, it makes it smaller than you actually want it. So I'm going to take one that's about the same diameter of the hole or a little smaller. And then I'm going to go back to my piece that I cut out of the license plate, where the license plate bracket is now. And I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to hole saw a piece out of that. And then I'll have a plug. And then I can weld all the way around it, and then I can just plug weld the hole where the drill bit went through. And then I'll do the same thing for this one. And we'll get those all done. So this seems to be about the same size as that hole, best I can tell. So I'm going to try this and see how close we get. If we got to take it over on the sander and make it a little smaller, no big deal. So I'm going to get this set up, and we'll go and drill out a piece of that plate that we cut out of here, and then we'll come back and try to fit it. Alright, I got my piece hole sawed out. I ended up having to take it over on the belt sander and sand it down a little bit, but now it fits in there like I want it to. Slides right through. So I'll just get this all cleaned up, and I'll get this cleaned up a little better, and we'll weld that in there. Alright, I'm going to use that magnet to hold that up there. It's got it pretty darn close to flush. Close enough that I can grind a little bit off of it if I need to, make it perfect. So I'll back you guys up a little bit. This welder gets kind of bright. Wouldn't want to burn your eyes or nothing. Okay, we got that all welded up where we just gotta take the grinder to it and grind it back down. Next thing's gonna be getting rid of this one. So I reached through from the back side and it feels like it just pops in, but it doesn't want to move, so I'm gonna try to persuade it a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. Easy as can be. Now I left my hole saw that I think is the same size over there, so I'll go grab it, check it, drill another hole, come back, patch this one. Alright, well, old hotshot's really coming along. I'm pretty happy with the, well, not pretty happy, I'm real happy with the outcome so far. And bed's looking good. Got our fuel fill neck hiding away down in there. We got our rear door removed, new panel put in. We got both of our holes up here patched in, so everything back here will just be smooth, and it'll be way better than that door. I don't know if it had a purpose when the bed was built or what. I'm not sure why it was there. There wasn't a box inside there. There wasn't, I don't know. I'm not sure why it was there, but it didn't really serve any purpose. And I think it looks way better without it. The recessed in license plate, pretty neat to me. I think that's cool. And the bed's 100% mounted. I got all the mounts done, and it's I got another set of tacks that I did on that panel after it cooled off for a little bit, and then after I plugged those holes, I went ahead and ran another set of tacks around that plate, and I'm gonna let it cool overnight, which isn't necessary. I mean, you don't have to let it cool that long between welding it, but it's getting to be the end of my day, so I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'll come back, it'll be cooled off, and then I'll go ahead and run some more around it. Probably finish welding it up tomorrow. So the next video on hotshot, we're gonna start stripping this truck. These mirrors are coming off, seats coming out, door panels are going away, dash pad, vinyl floor. We're gonna pull all our headlights, bumper, grill, headlight doors. This fender's going to the scrapyard. This door's going to the scrapyard. And we're gonna get the windshield out of it. And depending on when I pull the bed back off, possibly the back window. But we're gonna completely strip this thing down. We're gonna check out and see what the floor looks like. If we need to do any patching on rockers or inner rockers or floor or anything like that, that'll be the time to do that. And then once it's all stripped down, we're gonna start body working this thing. It's got a pretty significant dent here in the roof we gotta fix. It's a little ripple in this door we gotta fix. This fender looks like it's already got a little bit of Bondo in it, but it's pretty straight, so we'll probably just straighten her up. Hood's good. Cowl panel, not so much. We might try to fix that, we might replace it. Like I said, this fender's shot. I'm supposed to be getting a new fender and door for it, but everybody that says they got one and they'll sell to me, never hear back from them. So I'll come up with one way or another. Got to pull the cab trim off. Got to pull the rain guards off. All the cab lights, fender lights. We're gonna do a full strip on this thing. It's gonna be a bare cab when we get done. So if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button if you're not already. If you are subscribed, hit the share button so your friends can see it too. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about what I did in this video, and hit the like button if you like it. But that's gonna do it for this video. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time.